Welcome to my Asshole Podcast. Let's get into it. Welcome to my Asshole Podcast. Today is Tuesday. We got a lovely Tuesday episode for you guys. Pretty interesting thread. We got some juicy scenarios lined up for you guys today. Hopefully you guys are having a great start to your week. And, we are rounding out the year of 2025 nicely over here at Am I the Asshole Podcast. A lot of content coming up. And, man, it's been exciting. This has been a huge year for me. I ain't gonna lie to you. This has probably been one of my most productive years, if I'm being honest with you, as far as just the podcast, streaming, and everything I've been doing on the side. So, yeah, man, I hope the year's been good for you. I know we got 2 more months of the year left. It's insanity how fast this year has gone by. And man, without further ado, let's get on into today's thread. Today's thread is restaurant employees. What actually happens when someone doesn't have enough to pay for the bill? All right. I've always wondered this. I've never been in this situation myself, obviously, but I always wonder, as a worker, what would you do if they don't have enough to pay for the bill? Or if, it's one of those things where, say the people are out on a date and then they're just like, oh, I forgot my wallet kind of deal. What do you do, So let's see. All right, restaurant employees, what actually happens when someone doesn't have enough for the bill? At a local spot, they put your name on a big whiteboard next to the bar, first and last, as well as the amount owed until you settle your bill. Oh. So they kind of pretty much just put you on blast then. That's pretty much what they'll do. They just put you on blast like, yeah, man, this dude right here, this motherfucker owes $222 at this establishment. He needs to pay his shit. Like, all right. Restaurant employees, what actually happens when a customer doesn't have enough to pay for the bill? I used to be a server and had this table with 4 guys. Their bill came up to somewhere around $52 and some change. I brought them the bill, and when I went to collect it, the guys were gone and there was only $50 cash on the table. I told my manager, and he removed something from their bill and cashed it out, so I would still get something for a tip. It was definitely a shitty thing for those guys to do, but thankfully I had a good manager that made sure it wouldn't come out of my pocket. Yeah, facts. If I'm being honest with you, I probably would have done the same thing. I'm not going to itch over $2 and, some change. Like, it ain't worth it at that point, if I'm being straight with you, man. And that's good that you kind of didn't have one of those managers that's just kind of a piece of shit and makes it your fault, because I've dealt with those kind of managers before, I ain't gonna lie to you, and they are the worst. It's like, bro, come on, man. I'm not doing this shit on purpose, you know what I mean? And then on top of that, it's like, motherfucker, it's the customer, but how businesses are. They're like, oh, the customer's right, and all that bullshit. Oh, man. All right, restaurant employees, what actually happens when the customer doesn't have enough to pay for the bill? A table shorted me $30, left me $120 in cash on a $150 tab. Went to the manager asking what to do. He told me I could pay the difference to make the check whole, or they'd mark the shortage as a walkout and I'd get written up. Yo! Is that really a thing? That if you walk out on a bill, then the server has to pay the difference? No way. Oh my God, I definitely learned something new today. And that is kind of scary. That's scary to think about. Like, if you're an asshole and you decide to walk out on a bill or you short a bill, they are the ones that have to pick that up. No fucking way. That's crazy. I asked what would have happened if they left me nothing and just walked out. Manager's response was same two options. Yo! Since I wasn't going to pay the difference from my tips and was going to get written up anyway, I told them my bad. They walked out on the entire tab. I'll take the write up, pocketed the $120 in cash and got written up. Hey, facts. At that point, it's like, psh, fuck it then. If I'm going to get in trouble regardless, I rather just get in trouble instead of you fuck with my money. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy to me. That you're going to make him pay that money because they walked out. Like, it's not my fault they walked out. They were just scumbags and pieces of shit and they wanted to walk out. Like, bro, that's out of my control at that point. You know what I mean? Damn, that's fucked up. That's mad fucked up. I did not know that. You learn something new every day, man. Oh, this podcast is always teaching me shit. I ain't gonna lie to you. It's always teaching me shit. Because I never knew that. Now, don't get me wrong. I've always been the type of person, you know, if I get great service, you know what I mean? Pay the bill in full, give a nice good tip, you know, I'm all good. It is what it is. But I've never, like, walked out, you know, not walked out, but, like, paid less than what the bill was and all that kind of stuff. I didn't know that they had to pay the difference. That's craziness to me. All right, restaurant employees, what actually happens when they don't have enough to pay for the bill? In my experience, it depends on the situation. If someone ran out on a small check, we usually ended up doing nothing, but you'd be banned if you ever dared to show up again. Some customers would apologize and promise to come back and pay. We would generally just let them go, especially if they were a regular. More often than not, they did come back and pay. Even people who straight up refused to pay would generally just be banned. I remember my manager calling the police just once on someone trying to walk out after racking up a huge check and getting into a screaming argument with my manager when he tried to stop him. Yeah, I was just about to say that. I'm like, has anybody called the police yet? You know what I mean? Like, I was kind of waiting on that. I was waiting on a police interaction just because I know that does happen where people, you know, try to get away with not paying the bill and then they have to call the police and all that kind of shit and how that craziness goes, because at that point it's like, bruh, you know, like, you got to pay it this, you know, you got to pay it now or regardless, because of the simple fact that, dude, you know what I mean, the police are on their way. And if you get arrested over not paying your bill at a restaurant, that's crazy. That is the craziest shit ever. Like, hey, why'd you get arrested? Didn't pay my bill at the restaurant. Oh my God. Oh, you absolute delinquent, you know? You know what I mean? Like, bro, it's insanity to me. My biggest thing is, like, if you know you ain't got money, why the fuck you going out to eat? You know what I mean? Like, I don't even go out with friends to eat if I know I ain't got the money to go out and eat. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't even do that. Like, it's crazy to me that people have the gall to go to places knowing they ain't got money to pay for it and then thinking like, oh yeah, I can just smooth talk my way on out of this check. I can smooth talk my way out of this situation. Everything be hunky dory. Like, come on, man. All right. Restaurant employees, what actually happens when the customers don't have enough to pay for the bill? I realized I didn't have my wallet because I had changed purses. I explained, apologized, and left my phone as collateral while I ran back to my apartment for my wallet. I then ran all the way back and, sweaty and gasping, found my waiter to pay. He felt bad that I was trying so hard to fix this and gave me free drinks. Hey, facts. Facts. I think that's the right way to do it. You know what I mean? You leave something as collateral. You go and you go get your wallet, get your money, whatever it may be. You come back, you pay them, and do your thing. I remember that happened one time when I was getting a tattoo. And I could have swore I had grabbed my wallet. And I was just like, oh, shit, I don't have my wallet. And so I was just like, all right, look. hold on to my phone. I'm going to go back to my house. I'm going to go get my wallet, go get the money, and then I'll come right back. You know what I mean? And that shit happens. You know what I mean? It happens. And I think that's kind of the right way to go about it. That has happened to me once. It's never happened to me in a restaurant, but it has happened to me getting a tattoo. But yeah, you know, I would think that's the right way to do it. You know what I mean? All right, restaurant employees. What actually happens when a customer does not have enough to pay for the bill? Bounce checks and dine and dashes were far more common than whoops, I forgot my wallet, but it does happen. Usually the restaurant would just ask them to come back tomorrow and pay, and the patron would, in fact, come back the next day and pay. Dude, okay. Makes no sense. Why are you going to go to a restaurant, right? And then you have the plan to not pay for the meal. And then because you got caught, you go back and you just pay for the meal that you would have just paid for already. Like, just pay for it. And then you don't have to inconvenience yourself by going back to the place the next day looking stupid, mind you. Like, come on, people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're paying for the food regardless. I mean, is it a thing where, you know, because I remember I saw a TikTok video where this lady, she went to a hotel restaurant, right? And she had bought she got a bunch of stuff. And she was trying to pretty much just like wait until midnight, so then that way like she would get paid from her job and then she could pay the bill. And she made this whole big stickler about it and this and that, and she said some bullshit like, oh, you know, I actually work for this hotel, and you know, she made up some guy named like Carlos or something, some Mexican name, and she made up somebody at the counter and was like, oh, you know, talk to Carlos. He told me that it's fine and everything is good. No, talk to Carlos. And, you know, they asked the hotel manager, and they're like, nobody named Carlos works here. Like, I don't know what she's talking about. She doesn't work for the hotel at all to any capacity. Like, you know, and obviously this is all from the cops, you know, body cam. And you know, it's one of those things where it's just like and you could tell that she was just waiting, because at the end of the video she does pay. She's just like, oh, okay, well, here, I'll just put it on my company card, she says. And it's like,
stop the cap.
You know, you didn't have the money the entire time. You was just waiting, because all of a sudden it was a thing where, you know, it had hit like midnight, because the cop mentions it. The cop is just like, well, look, you know, it just hit midnight. Like, we got to get you out of here. These people got to go home. You know what I mean? All this, da-da-da. And she's just like, oh, well, you know, fine. I'll just put it on my company card. But it was one of those things where it was like, you were fighting these guys tooth and nail for an hour and a half. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden it hits midnight, and then you're able to pay the bill. You know what I mean? A little sus to me. I thought that was the funniest thing ever. I was like, bro, come on, man. All right. Restaurant employees, what actually happens when a customer can't pay for the bill? I delivered for Domino's Pizza in the early 2000s. I took an order that went to a apartment complex on the edge of town. When I arrived, the front door was wide open. I knocked on the door and I heard a voice telling me to come in. I walked into the apartment and made my way to the living room. Okay, hold up. No. I am not about to walk into somebody's house. I'm leaving your pizza at the fucking door, and I'm leaving. I don't care if I don't get paid. I don't care if I don't get a tip. I'm not walking into somebody's home. I will leave that pizza right at the door, and I'll be like, yeah, you can come fucking get this pizza, because I ain't coming in there. Nah, you have a nice day. I would like to live, thank you very much. The fuck are we talking about? You walked into this person's house, door just swang wide open. You are crazy. You are out your mind. There was a man sitting on the ground. A wheelchair was on the other side of the room. I asked if he was okay, and he told me he had to sleep on the floor because he didn't have a bed. I looked around the apartment and noticed he had no furniture. He only had a overhead light and nothing else. I pulled his order out of the bag and told him the price. He then told me he had no money, but hadn't eaten in a few days. I was new at the job and didn't know what the policy would be for something like this. I told him I couldn't give him his pizza and apologized over and over. He took me, he told me he understood, and I left. When I got back to the store, I told the manager about what happened. He asked me if I wanted to give the guy the pizza. I told him I did, but I didn't want to get in trouble. He told me it was okay because he knew I believed the guy, and also because of the guy's living situation. The manager walked over to a computer and deleted the order. He then told me to grab a few cans of pop and some wings that were never picked up. He then told me we couldn't do this all the time, but there were times when it was the right thing to do, and I can make that decision next time. I drove back to the guy's house and knocked on the open door again. He told me to leave the door open because it helped keep the apartment cool. I was called into the apartment and saw the guy was still on the floor. I saw dude was like a video game NPC. Like, you know how when you go to like a video game NPC and say they're like on the floor or they're like standing by a windowsill or something like that, you leave and go do some other shit and you come back and they're like in the same exact spot that they were. They don't move. They don't do nothing. I don't know why that reminded me of that. That's just kind of funny. I was called into the apartment and saw the guy was still on the floor. He saw that I was still carrying his order and his face lit up. I told him I was bringing his food back along with some other things. He was so thankful. He told me his food would last him a week and asked me to put everything on the counter. The man then proceeded to thank me. I apologized and told him I wanted to help, but I didn't know if it was okay. We talked for a bit before I had to go back to work. The whole interaction made me sad. The guy was really nice, but was handed a shit card in life. He ordered from us again, and I have no idea what happened to him. I wish I had checked in on him at least one more time, but I didn't, and I kind of regret it. Dang, man. Very sad story. Very, very sad story. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like I said, as horrible as, that man's circumstances is and all that kind of stuff, I wouldn't have walked into the house. I ain't gonna lie to you. Even with the sad story and all that kind of, nah. I'm sorry, but I still wouldn't have walked into that house. I would have just left the pizza at the door and I would have just left. I'd have been like, okay, look, I'm just gonna leave the pizza at the door and you have a nice day. You know what I mean? Because look, I get it. You know what I mean? If he was me, then this would have never happened. They would have never given him the free wings and soda and all that kind of stuff. Look, I get that 100%. I'm a horrible person, but hey, given the circumstances of I didn't know, you know what I mean, that was going on and that's what he was doing, I just would have chose life. I ain't gonna lie to you, man, because people are crazy nowadays and you never know. You know what I mean? You just never fucking know. So yeah, bro, nah. I'm sorry. Y'all can be mad at me in the comments if you want. Restaurant employees, what actually happens when a customer doesn't have enough to pay the bill? I've seen a mean old drunk pass out after eating. Waitress took out his wallet and paid the bill with his cash. Probably not legal. She later became manager. Yo! That's crazy. I would think that you would, wake the guy up, wait for him to wake up. Like, he ain't going nowhere. Dude's passed out. You know what I mean? Like, he ain't going nowhere. So, like, why are you so adamant about getting the payment from him? I get it. You know what I mean? He might be difficult to get the payment from and stuff like that, but he ain't going nowhere. He ain't running out on the bill. Niggas passed out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you, dude, I'm surprised she made manager. Like, bro. Like, what? Corporate office was just like, you know what? Stacy, she goes above and fucking beyond. You know what she does? Is when customers pass out, she will get their wallet, take the money out, and pay for their meal for them with their own money. It's crazy. Her work ethic is wild. You know what I mean? Like, bro. Oh my God, man. That's wild to make manager over that. That is incredible. All right. This is going to be our last one for this thread. Restaurant employees, what actually happens when a customer doesn't have enough to pay for the bill? We once had a family who racked up a $350 bill at a steakhouse. God damn. How many kids y'all got and what y'all ordering? $350? That's insanity. Okay. Then realized they'd forgotten their wallet. The manager made one adult stay behind while the rest went to get it. They never came back. The guy sat there for 3 hours before admitting they ditched him too. Yo, that's crazy. Oh my, they were really, I wonder what happened to the guy. Did he have to wash dishes? What did he have to do to get out? Did he go to jail? Because, you know, obviously, I would assume he ain't got no money. He's not going to pay for it because obviously they walked in there with the assumption of like, yeah, we're not paying for this. Yeah, fuck them. Da 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 da. So I would assume like, since they were already under the like thought process of, yeah, I'm not going to pay, so why would they bring any money? If he's stuck there, what happened to him? You know, I really want to know what happened to him. I wonder if they say, because dude, that makes me think, like, you know, I've always been told, and maybe you guys have heard this too, is like when you can't pay for your bill, the restaurant makes you wash dishes. So I wonder if he actually had to do that. Or was it a thing where they just called the police on him and, you know, they just let the police deal with him? That's what I'm thinking happened. You know, they just called the police on him and let the police deal with him. But I could be totally wrong. They could have done something else too. I don't know. They could have actually made that motherfucker wash dishes. I don't know. But hey, all right. That's going to go ahead and be that thread. Hope you guys enjoyed that thread. If you have ever had a situation or you have been a waiter or waitress and you've dealt with a situation where a customer did not pay the bill, let us know what happened down in the comments. All right. We're going to hop through announcements and get right on into today's scenarios. So, patreon.com/Am I the Asshole podcast. Get an exclusive episode every single Friday, as well as being able to send in your scenario to be featured on the Tuesday and Sunday show like these lovely people did for today. All right. Audio listeners, if you want to be a part of the Spotify gang, if you will, the Spotify support, the Patreon gang or the Patreon supporters, you totally can, as long as you are a 7-day free trial member or a full paid member. You can listen to all of the Patreon episodes on Spotify, so you don't have to leave Spotify or anything like that. All those episodes are available on Spotify as long as you are a 7-day free trial member or a full paid member. All right, audio listeners, thank you guys so much for all the support. You guys are the goats, and I appreciate you guys so very much coming every week to download the episodes as well as rating us 5 stars on your preferred platform. All of that is free and it helps out so tremendously. And if you want to help out even more on the free 99 side of things, go ahead and follow us on Instagram, TikTok, as well as subscribing on YouTube. All of that is free, and it helps out tremendously. Thank you guys for all the support. Appreciate you so much. Without further ado, let me try to clear my nose a little bit. Okay, and let's get into today's scenarios. My nose decided to just, get all congested and cloggy up once I hit the record button. I don't know why that is. So, yeah, I don't know. All right. Am I the asshole? Told my boyfriend he was the same size as my ex. Oh. Oh. Okay. My boyfriend and I have been together for about a month and a half, and last night we had sex for the first time. Afterwards, we were laying in bed and talking when he asked me if he was the biggest I had ever had. All right, that's where he already fucked up. Look, man, guys out there, don't ask. Just don't. Don't do that. Don't do it. Get the coochie, get your nut, and just be chilling, man. Just be chill. Don't ask that question ever, bro. All it's gonna do is lead to heartbreak. Okay? I'm just gonna be honest with you. Have I ever asked that question? Fuck no, because I'm not ready to experience that kind of heartbreak. I don't think I'll be able to survive. Okay, I'm sorry. Like, look, man, I ain't the biggest dude out there or anything like that. But, you know, I slang my meat and it is what it is. You know what I mean? Okay, I ain't out here trying to win, you know, these competitions that I would like to be blissfully ignorant to, okay? She can, in her head, she can just be like, oh, well, you know, he ranks like 4th place. I don't want to know. All right? I don't want to fucking know. All right? You keep that in your head, in your diary, and to your friends. I don't want to know. All right? That, yeah, man, just... don't ask that question. Just don't, man. It's going to end in heartbreak every single time. I asked him if he wanted me to be completely honest and asked if he was going to be upset about my answer. And he said no. I told him I would say you and my ex are around the same size. It feels about the same. This deeply upset him. He was being cold and distant, couldn't even look at me, and said maybe 5 things to me within 2 hours. I was there before I left his place. I kept apologizing, telling him I didn't mean that sex felt the same, but he couldn't believe me and kept saying I was only telling him what I thought he wanted to hear. I left around 4:30 a.m. and when I got home, I was telling him how sorry I was and that I generally didn't mean to upset him at all. He told me that nobody has ever said something so insane to him and he doesn't think that he will be able to be turned on by me again. Yeah, see, I think this is one of those dudes where he's asked in the past, the girl just kind of knew, I gotta lie to this motherfucker, and they lied. You know, and they're like, oh, yeah, of course. Of course. Jerome totally wasn't bigger than you. Are you kidding me? No way. Jerome, Tyrone, you know, DeQuarius, those guys were small. Come on now. like, come on now. What are you talking about? I woke up for work around 10 and once again apologized. I told him I loved him. And damn, girl, y'all only been dating a month and a half. What the fuck is going on here? You already love this nigga after a month and a half? God damn. I loved him and I told him to text me if he needed anything. He texted me twice and everything he said has been avoidant and cold. I don't know what to do. I've told him so many times that he took what I said the wrong way, that I'm sorry and that sex with him felt different than it did with my ex, but he doesn't believe me. He told me he is fearing for our relationship after this. Am I the asshole for saying this to my boyfriend, and what do I do to get him to forgive me? Oh jeez. I think you forever bruised this man's ego, if I'm being honest with you, you know, and I get it. We can hindsight 2020 all we want and be like, oh, you should have lied and you should have said this and you should have, coulda, woulda, shoulda, coulda. All that good stuff, all right? You know, we could 2020 quarterback this all we want. But the main fact of it is, if I'm being honest with you, I don't think this relationship is going to go any further, if I'm being honest with you. And I don't really think that you should continue this relationship, only because it's one of those things where it's like, look, y'all have been together for a month and a half. Okay, you've been together for a month and a half, and this is already how he's kind of dealing with conflict within you guys' relationship. This is his conflict resolution skills, you know, kind of rearing their ugly head. This is, you know, pretty much how he's going to deal with things going forward in a relationship. I mean, it doesn't even have to just be a thing of like, you bruising his ego. It could be about something else, and he wants to feel some type of way about it, and then he acts like a child, if I'm being honest with you. Because look, man, I get it. For some reason, he wanted some ego boost of like, oh yeah, your penis is super huge. Oh my God. Like, I don't know why he wanted this ego boost. I guarantee you he got it from a bunch of other girls. You know what I mean? That were fucking Chads and Tyrones and, all this other shit. You know what I mean? And they were lying to him, and you were the first girl to kind of just be honest with him. And I get it. You came from you had good intentions, obviously. I don't think you're the asshole just simply because you prefaced the question of like, hey, or you prefaced your answer with like, hey, you're not gonna be angry at my answer. And he's like, no, I'm not gonna be angry at your answer, not at all. Like, bro, why are you gonna agree to that if you know that if the answer doesn't go the way you want it to, it's going to make you upset regardless? You see what I mean? So it's like, all the blame is really on him, but my biggest thing is I just think the relationship is over just because I don't know how much you'll be able to tolerate this type of conflict resolution style, if I'm being honest with you. You know what I mean? This avoidant, detached style of like conflict resolution. I don't think it really goes well for like a healthy relationship, if I'm being honest with you. And the fact that he's doing this only a month and a half into the relationship really shows you. I mean, y'all should be in the honeymoon fucking period. You know what I mean? Like he should be just like, no, it is what it is, babe. I love you. And you know what I mean? Like he should be so blinded in love and all that stuff, just like you are, that, sure, he'd be mad in the moment. He'd be mad for a day or two or whatever, and then he gets over it. But the fact that he's kind of been doing this for a while now just goes to show you, like, this is just how he deals with conflict. And again, I don't know your tolerance to it, or maybe there's an overwhelming reason why you want to be with him. I don't know, but I simply think that this relationship, if you guys decide to continue it, it's going to be a little difficult on you. You know what I mean? Homeboy's conflict resolution skills are not really the best, if I'm being honest with you. I don't know. You guys let me know what you think about it in the comments, all right? Let's move on to our next one. Could I have been cheated on, or am I just paranoid? All right, let's see what's up. Me, male 40, and my wife, female 41, have been married for 11 years and had a very strong relationship up until about 2 years ago when our second child was born. It was a difficult pregnancy from the start to finish, and things have been much more difficult since. Between her anxiety and mild depression that have developed over time, she eventually started seeing a therapist and taking medication, which helped. But that's started to taper off. In the last year, it's felt like we've become more like roommates than partners, and our sex life has taken a nosedive. I'm talking, it went from a couple times a week before the pregnancy to once every 4 to 6 weeks after. About 5 months ago, we were talking, and I recommended that she take a trip to Phoenix/Scottsdale with one of her girlfriends. It's been a long time since doing something like that, and I thought it might help her stress levels by getting away from the house and parenting responsibilities for a long weekend. She left, and during that time, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. There was one night when they went out, and she didn't respond to my text, but that's not unusual for her when she takes trips to visit her family, so I thought nothing of it at the time. She returned happy, just like anyone who came back from a warm getaway would, and then amped things up in the bedroom. We started having sex every night to every other night for the first 2 weeks she was back. I asked her what got into her, and she replied with, "I really missed you, and I appreciate you letting me take a girls trip. Around that time, just her and I escaped to our vacation rental, which we've never done. We got drunk the first night, also something that doesn't happen often, and she really let loose in the bedroom. It was almost like she was a different person. I asked again what's changed, and she just said that she's trying to relax more during sex, and she was really feeling desired. The high frequency of sex and lingerie continued for another couple of weeks, but eventually tapered down to once a week or every other week. I've never been cheated on, so and don't have any proof something happened on her girls trip, but is that a guilty reaction from somebody that cheated? I've never had a reason to doubt her before or think that she was unfaithful, but that really surprised me. Okay, so I get it, because it's more, you're kind of probably, coming to this conclusion just because it is a little unlike her, you know what I mean? She kind of, when she would come back from her girls' trips before, you know what I mean? It was pretty standard, normal. She'd come back, and wouldn't have this crazy high sex libido craziness going on. But I don't think that she cheated on you. I personally think that her friends were pretty much just like getting on her ass, if I'm being honest with you. I think what really happened is she went out on this girls' trip, right? And she went out with her friends and stuff like that, and girls talk, you know what I mean? That's their thing, girls talk and all that kind of stuff. And I guarantee you it was a thing where, she told her friends about it, like, yeah, we don't really have sex that often, and this and that, and blah, blah, blah. And, and I guarantee you, the girls were just like, ooh, you're not doing it with your man. Oh, this and that. Oh, okay. Well, like, if you don't, he gonna find some girl that will, you know what I mean? He gonna cheat on you. He's gonna do this and do that, you know what I mean? Just kind of putting a little fear in her head. And then on top of that, I'm sure she was getting hit on by some old weirdo young dudes who just wanted to sleep with an older girl, just to kind of have a notch under their belt. And she probably realized, oh my God, these dudes are fucking annoying and they're weird, so it kind of, in a way, double-edged sworded her appreciation for you. So when she got back, she was just like, oh my God, I don't want to be single, because the dating scene is fucking cooked like crazy, you know what I mean? And the only dudes that are really pursuing me are just weirdo dudes who are younger and just want to, fuck a cougar. Let's be honest here. And then I'm sure her friends kind of got in her ear too, and was just like, bitch, if you don't, give your man the coochie, he gonna find some coochie. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to keep things good, and you want to keep your man and all that stuff, and you want to keep the household happy, you better get that nigga some coochie. Like, I don't know what you doing. You out here playing. You know what I mean? You out here playing. Because what I've noticed, is that a lot of older women, and I would argue maybe late 30s and up, they get it. All right? They get it. They're not about this whole, like, I don't need no man, and I'm independent and all this bullshit, that these younger girls like to do. They understand, like, nah, that ain't the way. And you see it all the time on social media. You really, really do. And then, honestly, you even talk to a lot of older women in your life and really talk to them about it. You know what I mean? Like, what they think about the dating scene and the whole, independent woman and I don't need a man and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of them will tell you that is just bullshit, and that they're not about it, and that they wish that younger women would kind of, see that, hey, you shouldn't do this whole independent woman thing. Like, sure, have your own career, and sure, do your thing, but having a guy and having a family and doing all that kind of stuff, it's not inherently bad. It's not as domesticated as you think it is. A lot of older women, that I've talked to, and that obviously that I've seen on social media and stuff like that, they seem to kind of get it. They understand, like, hey, all this propaganda bullshit that they've been telling you about, oh yeah, you don't need a man, and men are horrible, and all this whatever, it's absolute bullshit. You know what I mean? And I'm starting to see this, and so I guarantee you that her friends are kind of in that mindset, and that's why they were kind of giving her that kind of advice. Some of them might even be single too, and like experiencing how shitty the dating scene is, to where it's like these young guys, they just kind of want to fuck and be like, yeah, I fucked a cougar. Oh yeah. You know what I mean? Then they have guys that are their age, and a lot of times these dudes aren't really looking for anything serious. They kind of just want to fuck buddy, or, they want somebody to just, spend time with. They don't really care. They'll spend time with her, and, they have 2 or 3 other girls that they're talking to, so it's not even really a relationship. They just kind of want to do their thing. And then you have the older dudes, and the older dudes, they can't really do anything with those guys. It's like, sure, they're established, they got some money, whatever, but can't really do shit with them. So I guarantee you her friends are either one of 2 things. One, or they're both. One of 2 things. One, they're single and they understand, how shitty the dating market is, and that they told her, hey, you should be glad that you're in a relationship, and a good relationship at that. Or 2, they're in a situation where they look at it like, hey, this whole independent boss babe, all this shit right here, nah, it's just trash. If I'm being honest with you, it's one of those things where it's like, it's great in the moment, it's great when you're coming up and doing your thing and all that kind of stuff, but if I'm being honest with you, having that family dynamic, or having that, family and stuff like that, making your man happy and all that good stuff, and that's a lot more worth it, to us than all the other stuff. All the other stuff is great and it's cool to have, but it flees in comparison to, that family dynamic and your man and all that kind of stuff. And that's just what it is. Most women enjoy or get more enjoyment out of having a family and having, their man and kid and all that kind of stuff. And so, I'm sure they were warning her like, hey, if you lose that shit, that's on you. You know what I mean? And if I hit up your ex-husband, I mean, hey, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think she's cheating on you, though. It is the, I guess, full circle moment to this, if I'm going to bring it all back around. I don't think she's cheating on you. I think it was a thing where she went on this trip, something happened to make her realize, you know what? Yeah, I got it good at home. Yeah, he was saying, it was like, it was a lot and then it started to taper off, but I'm sure that's just life getting in the way. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure you guys were able to make all this time to do all this stuff. Like he said, they went out to their little, summer home or whatever, and they were doing their thing and blah, blah, blah. But obviously it's going to taper off eventually. I think that's just a natural thing. If people get busy, you got to go to work, you got to do things like that, and they have kids too. So it's like, I'm sure that got in the way, but I think it was a thing where it stayed pretty steady, to where instead of them having sex once a month, they were doing it every other week, twice every other week, whatever. So yeah, again, I don't think he's cheating. You guys let me know what you think about it in the comments, all that good stuff. We'll move on to the next one. All right, am I the asshole? My girlfriend broke up with me after I found out, or hold on. Am I the asshole? My girlfriend broke up with me after I found out I have a kid. Okay, after she found out I have a kid. You guys got to proofread this shit. God damn. All right, so I've been with my girl for 2 years, and we were friends before that. She has a kid from a previous relationship, which I've gotten to meet, and we get along. Our relationship has been going well. We both love each other and have talked about marriage and even having kids. We had plans of moving in soon, and I was planning on proposing by next year. Hey. About a week ago, I found out I have a kid from a previous relationship years ago. Oh. I told my girl, and she instantly told me that we should break up, and she is upset because she wanted to have my first child. We haven't spoken since, and I just don't know if I am in the wrong. I thought things were going so well, and I really had no idea I had a kid. So am I the asshole? Fuck no. I wouldn't think you're the asshole because you didn't know. Like, I can't tell you something that I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I think she's overreacting, if I'm being honest with you. Look, I get it. She wanted to have your first kid and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you shouldn't have told her. I'm not going to say that either, because I think that's a bad idea. The fact that you came clean and was honest, you know what I mean? I think that's great. I think that's fantastic. I thought she would have been like decently okay with it because you were so accepting and all right with her having a child. Most guys aren't, you know what I mean? And I'm sure that she's experienced that to where most guys don't really want to take her serious because she has a kid from a previous relationship. You did. And so I'm sure that made you kind of stand out to her in some way. But the fact that he has a kid, I wouldn't think that would be that big of an issue. And then on top of that, it's a thing where it's like, bro, I didn't even know I had this kid. So obviously wherever this kid's living and whatnot, they're already established with the mom. I may get the kid like on the weekends, or I might get him for a couple hours. You know what I mean? So it's not really like it's affecting my life. Look, I get it. From her perspective, she's just like, oh, but I wanted to be the one to have. But it's just like, sorry, sweetheart. You know what I mean? Not all the time can we be, the special first time person. Like, it just is what it is. We're adults. You know what I mean? Like, that's something you're just going to have to really get out of your head, is that whole I want to be this person's first this and this person's first that. And like, look, man, obviously, he's not going to be he's not gonna be the first person to get you pregnant. You know what I mean? He's not gonna be the first person to have a child with you. So it's like, and he's okay with that. He looks at it like, hey, it is what it is. He accepted you for that. So I would hope that you would accept him for the same. And the fact that you aren't is kind of fucked up. I ain't gonna lie to you. I think that's kind of fucked up. The fact that he's willing to accept you for having a child, but you can't accept him for having a child. And then I don't think that she could play the whole you lied to me card, because he didn't know that this kid existed until he told you. You know what I mean? So it's like, bro, you can't sit there and call the you lied to me card. No, I didn't lie to you, because when I met you, sure, 2 years ago, I didn't have no kid to my knowledge. You know what I mean? All through the 2 years we were dating, I didn't know I had a kid. I was kidless until 2 years later. Now all of a sudden I got a fucking 2-year-old. I don't know. You see what I mean? So she can't really play that. So I definitely think she's overreacting. I think she's fucked up because he accepted her with a kid and she can't accept him with a kid. And I don't think you're the asshole at all. Not one bit, because you did the right thing. You told her about this. You were hoping that obviously she was going to be a little more like, oh my God, wow, oh, this is crazy, oh my goodness, at least a little curious about it, or just, she doesn't have to be excited about it, but I mean, at least, fucking, I don't know, accept the guy, you know what I mean? Like, fucking accept the dude. That's fucked up. I think that's really, really messed up. All right. On to our next one. Am I overreacting by finding out my girlfriend has her ex's name tattooed right above her coochie? Uh-oh. I weigh. Goodness, you're annoying. All right, move. That's. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'd probably break up with a girl over something like that. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. That's one of those things where it's just like, dude, nah, man. And you haven't gotten that lasered off and all. Nah, man. Nah. I just don't think I'd be able to look at her in the same way. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be able to look at her as my girl. Yeah, I'd probably be able to look at her as like a little bang slab, Yeah, I just fucked this girl, but I wouldn't be able to look at her like, yeah, that's my girl. Nah. I just wouldn't be able to do it. I ain't gonna lie to you. I mean, sure, she can get it lasered off, but again, that's just it's just crazy. Okay. Been with this girl for a few weeks. All things were going well. She's an international student, and we met on a dating app. So you only been with this girl for a few weeks. Yeah, man. I'd be like, peace. I ain't gonna lie to you. Well, a couple of days ago, we finally had some space, and we both felt we wanted to sleep together. Lights were off after some foreplay. I take off her underwear, and immediately, first thing I saw was a tattooed name. It was totally covered under her underwear until that point. It was just a bit above her private area. Big stylized letters. I was dumbfounded and just said, what the fuck is this? She said it's one of her ex's names that she had a 2-year relationship with some years ago. She tried to remove the tattoo, but said it hurt too much and it wasn't a good job. So she stopped after the first session and decided to keep it as it's not that important to her. Okay. I know this was years ago and she's not with him anymore, but excuse me, what the fuck? I've never ever seen anything this trashy in the worst porn I've seen, and this girl is 100% not trashy in any other way besides this. I literally cannot believe what my eyes saw even now. There is absolutely no chance in hell I'll be fine with every time we have sex to see the name tattooed there. Facts, bro. Facts. I am basically certain I will break up with her tomorrow or during the weekend. I want to hear what does everyone think about this as well, just for fun. Would anyone be even remotely okay with this? Girls, imagine, please, if your guy had his ex name tattooed right above his dick. Facts. Facts. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. Yeah, I would dump this girl too, bro. I would dump this bitch too. I'd be like, I ain't gonna lie to you. I wouldn't have said anything just because I would have wanted to clap. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, look, man, there's no blood here. All the blood's there. You know what I mean? So look, we got to get the job done. Because the train ain't stopping. But I ain't gonna lie to you. After I get my nut, then I'll be like, hey, yo, what the fuck is that? What's going on with that? You know what I mean? Like, and then she's not willing to get it lasered off either. We talked about that, like, even before, I read the scenario. Like, if she's willing to get it lasered off, it's like, maybe. But the fact that she's not willing to get it lasered off either, oh, yeah, Nah, bro. I wouldn't even look at it as like it's something trashy. It's just one of those things, like you said. I'm not about to be that guy where every time I go to have sex with you, I see some dude's name. You know what I mean? Like, nah, bro. That's wild to me. That is wild to me. Look, I get it. I'm sure when she did it, it was probably the hottest thing in the world and all that. You know what I mean? She thought she was going to be with that dude forever and this. I get that. But his name, bruh, that's crazy. Yeah, you guys let me know. Guys, let me know. Would you stay with her even though she's not willing to get it lasered off? Ladies, would you stay with a guy who has got a girl's name, his ex's name, tattooed over his penis, and he's not willing to get lasered off? Definitely let me know, because that's a crazy situation. Like I said, I don't think you're overreacting. I don't think you're the asshole. I don't think any of that shit. I would break up with her too. I would have got my nut first, though. I ain't gonna lie to you. Hopefully, you did, do the dang thing and then confront it, but I don't know. And that's just me, though. But yeah, definitely let me know down in the comments with that one. All right? Definitely let me know. All right, we're going to get into our last scenario for today. If you got this far in the episode, thank you guys so much. Appreciate you. Love you. And without further ado, let's get into this scenario. Okay. I caught my boyfriend cheating, but also kind of feel like I was asking for it. Okay. So my boyfriend and I have been together for like a year. I was scrolling through TikTok on his phone, don't judge me, and I saw a chat with this girl he met at work. It started as flirtatious memes, but then it got physical, like planning to meet after work. Here's the thing. I had been kind of distant lately because I was stressed about school and work. I know I haven't been the best girlfriend lately, and a part of me feels like maybe he did this because I wasn't paying attention. But another part of me is like, bro, literally that's cheating. What part of this is okay? I broke up with him, obviously, but I'm still shaking and also questioning if I'm too soft on myself for being hurt. Is this normal or am I overreacting? Personally, I don't think you're overreacting. I don't. Just because he's still wrong for that. I mean, look, not all the time are you going to be the best partner. Okay? Let's just be honest. Not all the time you're going to be the best partner. You can be in a relationship for 2 months. You can be in a relationship for 2 years. You can be in a relationship for 20 years. All right? It doesn't matter if you are being distant and you're doing this kind of stuff. That gives your partner a good reason to go and kind of pursue someone else. You should at least want to have conversations, talk things out. Now, look, if it's one of those things where it's like talking to a brick wall, you know what I mean, and you guys just aren't getting anywhere, and you guys are constantly having arguments and fights, and nothing is getting resolved and all that kind of stuff, at that point, then I think it's just like, all right, you should just, call it quits there and then decide to go move on with a coworker or with, somebody on a dating app, whatever it may be. I think that you probably still love the guy, you know what I mean? And you still care about him to a great deal. And that's why you feel bad and you feel the way that you are feeling, is because you do still love him. You do still care about him. Obviously those things are not going to change just because he cheated on you. Those things are not going to change just because, you guys aren't in a relationship anymore. It's a thing where it's like, you guys were in a relationship for a very long time. You know what I mean? And now that you're not with him anymore, a lot of times you are kind of doubting certain things because you're just like, dang, could I have talked to him more? Could I have prevented this? Was this something where, I probably should have looked at it like, well, he's doing this because of what I'm doing and all that kind of stuff. All that, I get it. You know what I mean? Because you're going to have those thoughts. Like, I think everybody has had those kind of thoughts when they've broken up or when they've broken up with a partner or gotten broken up with a partner. They go in their mind and they think to themselves, dang, man, I probably could have did this. I probably could have did that. And only if I did this, it could have worked out. And maybe if I would have just let that slide a little bit, things would have been a little better. We wouldn't have fought about that. You know what I mean? You start to just heavily compromise on things and you start to, throw your morals out the window just because you're only thinking about the good times in a breakup. You're not thinking about the bad times. You're not thinking about, the struggle that you guys had to go through and all the fights and the arguments and this and that. You're not thinking about that. You're only thinking about the good times. And I get it, 1000%. That's just the way we are as people. That's how we deal, with, previous relationships, and that's our healing process and getting over things and all that kind of stuff. 1000%. So it's completely normal for you to feel the way that you're feeling as far as like, dang, am I overreacting? Like, maybe he did this because of me and maybe I wasn't being a good girlfriend, this and that. And when it comes down to it, you're not always going to be the best partner in a relationship, no matter how long you've been together. And when those types of things arise, it takes both of you to kind of realize these actions and behaviors and have conversations and just deal with it. Deal with it with each other. Have the tough conversation. Have the tough talk. Have the, difficult, back and forths and arguments and stuff like that. Because my thing is I rather argue with my partner and talk things out than not talk about it and be distant with each other and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And again, if it's one of those things where it feels like you guys are just, talking to a brick wall and nothing is being moved forward and things are just not happening, well, then that's your cue to kind of just end the relationship and move on with that said coworker or somebody on a dating app. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I see that, if I'm being honest with you. You guys let me know what you think about it in the comments, as well as everything we went over today. We had some crazy scenarios today. God damn, man. Woo, you guys keep on keeping on with the fire. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. Pretty much 2 years of just crazy ass scenarios, man. I absolutely love doing the podcast. You guys are the big reason I keep doing it. You know what I mean? Whenever I get you guys in live streams or get you guys in comment sections or whatever, and you guys are like, yeah, I come back every Tuesday and Thursday, you know, and I sometimes catch your live streams and this and that. It really makes my day, and I appreciate that so very much. All right. Thank you guys so much. Hopefully you guys have a good start to your week. I will see you on Thursday for King of Wrath. I believe we're doing chapters 21, 22, and 23 on Thursday. So stay tuned for that. And without further ado, I love you guys all, and peace.